Hi everyone, Audrey here from Cancer with a Smile. Today I want to continue my story from the beginning series of videos. So my last video told you all about when I got my cancer diagnosis and took us right up to the point just before I had my lumpectomy. So today I'm going to tell you all about the process of having a lumpectomy, how I found it, how I felt about it and exactly what happened. So the day before getting an operation, most people know you're not allowed to eat anything from the night before you're going in, not the day before, but from the night before. So I had my dinner, I'd had that my usual time about 6 o'clock, and then I had a couple of drinks before bed, and that was all. I had to be at the hospital at the crack of dawn, 8 o'clock I had to be there. Thank goodness it was just the hospital up the road from me, so it was only about a 15-minute drive, which was good. I'd managed to get one of my friends to look after our kids in the morning and take them to school. It was a school day for them. So we dropped them off and then off we went. My husband took me up to the hospital. Went into the waiting room, checked in, had to wait, I don't know, about 5 or 10 minutes. I was super nervous, really nervous about my operation. I'm a really squeamish person and I don't mind getting jags as long as I don't look, but the thought of somebody cutting into my body was not good for me at all. So I was really nervous in the run up. Really to deal with it, and I don't know if this is great advice or not, but I just tried not to think about it because every time I thought about it I felt really anxious. The night before I actually slept not too bad considering, which was good. So anyway, we got there. Feeling really anxious. I've got my little bag of stuff in case I need to stay over. It was only meant to be day surgery, but I actually ended up having to stay the night. Most people, all the other ladies who were there, getting the same kind of thing done. Some of them were having mastectomies as well as lumpectomies. They all went home. So sometimes it's day surgery, sometimes you have to stay overnight. So I had my little bag of stuff. They called me along, said bye to Stuart. I was taken down to the wards. Really lucky that the hospital I was getting my operation in is quite a small hospital when it comes to doing operations, so they've got a really good tight-knit staff. It's not super busy. The wards are really nice. It's a very new hospital. It's called Stob Hill up in Bishopbriggs. So along we went. The first thing I had to do was get changed into, I'd been asked to bring like a dressing gown and slippers and things. They gave you a kind of hospital gown to put on, and then you wore your dressing gown and your slippers with that. So I had to get changed into that. Of course I had bought a new dressing gown, I bought nice new jammies, I bought new slippers. I forgot to bring the slippers, so the only thing I had with me was my pink New Balance trainers. So when I got into my hospital gown, my nice dressing gown and my pink trainers, which wasn't the best, but I think I'd just been so nervous I'd forgotten them. So did all that. The next thing, a few different people came round to see you. You were basically in a ward type situation with a curtain around your bed with a few other women. Mostly seemed to be in for the same kind of things, and it seemed like they were taking us in to get us all ready, so everybody's kind of ready to go when it was your turn to get the operation. A nurse came round, they ran through kind of all the stuff to do with the operation, asked you lots of questions, checked your date of birth. Then an oncologist came round, spoke to me. I can remember her looking at me and kind of looking sad and saying, "Oh, I can't believe you're only 34." And kind of going, "Yeah, I know, this isn't the best." But they were all super nice. They actually drew on me, which I presume they do for everybody, an arrow to point to which breast that they had to do the operation on, just to make sure there was no mistakes. What else did they do? Then a nurse came round and they give you like anti-clot sock things, or like stockings. These stockings you sometimes get if you're going on airplanes as well, to stop you getting clots. So they were lovely, got them put on. After that, I had to go up to the x-ray department within the hospital. That was a bit embarrassing because you had to walk through the hospital where there's all the people coming in and out in the kind of main body to go up to the x-ray department in your lovely dressing gown and trainers. So up we went anyway. There was a little group of us, and it was really nice because my cancer nurse, who I'd been assigned at the start of my treatment, was there and took us up. So she was chatting away, which helped to keep us less from getting so nervous. She was really kind. And we went up to x-ray and we sat and waited for a little while. I think there was 4 women When we were taking him, I was given an injection into the nipple area where they put a radioactive dye which then travels from the area at the front of the breast round to your lymph nodes, and it's to help them see where the first set of lymph nodes are in your system. It was a bit stingy, getting a needle put into your nipples, not the best fun, but it was only stingy for a little while. It wasn't super sore, it was okay. It was a bit funny because they had to wear like special gloves and there's all stuff saying radioactive, but they said it goes out your system very quickly. It's obviously safe to use if they're giving it to you. I actually thought it was really quite cool that that's how they do it. It's quite funky. Very space agey feeling, which was cool. So anyway, they put the stuff in. You had to wait about 10 minutes because it had to travel through your system round the lymph nodes so they could see where they were. Some of the other women, and I've having spoken to other people, that this can happen if you have a lump that maybe you can't feel, or you've got a bigger chest so it's kind of harder to identify exactly where the lump is. My lump you could feel under the skin, but if you can, then they sometimes will insert a thin wire into the tissue, and that helps guide the surgeon in when they're going into the breast so they can find the lump. When they do that, they give you a local anaesthetic so you can't feel it. But I just needed the dye for the lymph nodes. So I had to wait about 10 minutes for that to go around the system. While we were waiting, chatting to the other women, my cancer nurse was there, which was fantastic, made you feel much more relaxed than you maybe would have felt if you were sitting by yourself, so that was really good. And then went into the x-ray room, lovely nurse, had to stand. That was a wee bit uncomfortable because you had to stand for quite a long time, sort of almost hugging this big rectangular x-ray machine that went up against you, and you had to stay very still, so it got a little bit achy and sore, but nothing terrible. What I thought was really cool though was you could see, they had a screen and you could see the kind of almost highlight, it was like it was glowing, so you know the x-ray is black, and because there's radioactive stuff's going in, it made the tumour kind of almost light up on the screen, which was really cool. And then she had to mark on where the lymph nodes were, so she used this special pen that she kind of put on the screen that you could see on, you know, to identify where, oh no, she put the pen on me I think, and then you could see it on the screen. It was really cool. So she could work out exactly where the lymph nodes were, and then she marked that so that the surgeon would know where to go in. So I had that done, went back down to the ward, waited for a little while in my room. I'd actually taken things like books and, you know, I had my phone and things, so I've had something to do, but they took all of your stuff and they kept that in a safe, I think, so that they would bring it along when you'd finished your operation. So because I had to wait quite a long time, I was the last person taken of all the women that were getting done. I didn't really have anything very much to do, which was a bit of a shame, especially when you're feeling super nervous. So there was a little TV room, I went and sat in there. That felt really long. I think that was the hardest part. I mean, I was like trembling with nerves. Hadn't eaten, and I'm one of these annoying people that when I don't eat breakfast, I'm like shaky by 11 o'clock. I eat really regularly, so kind of every 2 hours I usually have a little snack, and I just try and eat healthy things. I don't know if my system works quite fast, so I burn through food quickly. So for me, having not eaten since like 6 o'clock the night before, I was really struggling and I was really nervous. And I remember sitting, and it was like Britain's Got Talent or something was on the TV in the room, and it was just me on my own twiddling my thumbs with no idea when I was going to actually be taken, because if something goes wrong in another operation, it'll take longer and you just need to wait. That was the hardest part, that waiting. I was really nervous, and I was really worried that I was going to wake up from this operation, I was going to be in a lot of pain. That was my biggest fear. And also things like scarring and stuff like that had concerned me. So I remember sitting there just trying not to think about all the things I was worried about and concentrate on the telly. It was quite cold as well, and I only had like this hospital gown on and then my dressing gown, so I remember somebody came along and gave me a wee blanket, and I went to the toilet about 6 times. You know, you're nervous, it makes you need the toilet. So waited, eventually came along, I think it was about 12:30, so I'd been in the hospital since like 8, so it was quite a while. It came along, and I remember in a way kind of just being relieved that I didn't have to sit and wait any longer. Nurse took me along to a little room which was like the anaesthetist kind of room. They usually have one room that then leads into the main surgical room. I remember this from when I took my daughter in for getting her tonsils out. I think that probably the idea of that is that you're not going in and seeing like all the surgical tools and stuff sitting, which aren't very nice. So you go into this little room, hop up into a bed. It was the oncologist who I had seen at my appointments. He was the surgeon. He had actually, in my appointments at Incop where I'd gone initially and met him, I found him a little awkward. He's one of these people that didn't make great eye contact, but he was very nice to talk to, really, really likeable. But he was very different when I was getting the operation done, and I don't know if it's because maybe I looked so nervous. He was very calming, really kind and really gentle. So I hopped up in the bed and he said, oh, we're just going to put a little cannula in, you know, give you some glucose here to make up for the fact you've not had your tea and toast. And I'm making a little joke of it. Everything was really calm. There was just him and one other man in the room. So I put my hand up, got my cannula done, no problem at all. And I remember seeing there was a drip. Sitting with that, and then he kind of walked by the end of the bed and he was like, and that's got the medicine in it that's going to make you go to sleep. And within a couple of seconds I felt a head rush. That kind of, I don't know when else you get a head rush, I kind of almost like a feeling of excitement, a head rush, and then I was out like that. It happened so quickly, and I really liked the way that he did it, because if he'd been saying, oh, now I'm going to give you the anaesthetic, maybe would have been a wee bit anxious, because he was so relaxed about it, really calm, and kind of held my hand and things. I didn't even know, I was totally relaxed. I felt so much better than I would have done. It was a really nice way that it was done, and that was me, I was out. So next thing I know, I wake up. The first thing I remember thinking, and I think you're lying kind of with your eyes closed because you're still groggy, the nurses are kind of talking to you, trying to bring you round. And the first thing I remember thinking was, oh, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I couldn't feel any pain at all, nothing was sore. I just felt like I'd woken up from a super deep sleep. I think I was lying with my eyes closed for quite a long time, kind of just coming round and listening to the nurses and all the people around me. They're, you know, really kind, gentle voices. Right, Audrey, that's you done, and we're just going to take you along to the ward. Didn't see anything of the surgical room. Whether I did, and I don't remember, I don't know, because I know anaesthetic stops you remembering things. My husband did actually say that while they were taking me along, he was on the phone to the nurse, and the nurse said to me, oh, that's your husband on the phone. I don't remember any of that. So trundled me down to the ward. I remember just kind of being in and out of sleep. I was conscious that if I moved, if I tried to turn about, it was uncomfortable, but at no point was I going, oh, that's so sore, or that's agony, which is what I'd expected. And you're thinking they're cutting a hole in your body, taking out a lump of tissue the size of mine was 1.2, so the size of a grape really, then sewing you all back up and taking out stuff under your arm. You're going to be in pain, but the painkillers must be cracking, because I didn't feel anything. So then went along to the ward. There was 3 other women in the ward, and I can just remember lying and listening to them kind of all chatting to each other. They must have been in the ward for a bit longer than me. They'd all come round, and it was quite a comforting thing. I kind of felt like I wanted to go to sleep but couldn't really get to sleep. I didn't feel too bad at that point from where I first got along. As I gradually woke up, I was thirsty. Your throat feels quite sore and croaky because you've also had a breathing tube down it, which has maybe kind of irritated it a bit. When I did start to talk, I remember my voice being very croaky. Drank quite a lot of water and into the toilet. I had to get the nurse to come and help me because I was really shaky. I then started to feel a little bit sick and quite dizzy, and I think that's obviously a combination of having had an operation, but I also think because I hadn't eaten for so long, that was having quite an impact on me as well, and been through all that. I remember they brought lunch, well, no, it must have been dinner around for us, so I didn't eat anything till 4 o'clock at dinner time, because they don't like you to eat just after your anaesthetic, because you quite often could be sick. And I remember making myself eat the dinner, knowing that if I ate that I would feel better. Every time I moved my head, I kind of felt a little bit like that seasicky way, that kind of movement. But all in all a lot better than I had expected to feel. Most of the women were then discharged, and I remember one of them was waiting for her husband, and I remember sitting looking at them all thinking, they all seem fine and they've had similar operations to me. Some of them had vasectomy, so bigger operations than mine. I'm thinking, how are they all up and about and I'm still in bed? But I think it's probably because they'd had a few more hours than me to recover. And a woman sat next to me and chatted away, and she was kind of, you know, I would say she was probably in her 60s. They were all a lot older than me. I would say at least 50s up. And she was so kind, sitting chatting to me, keeping me company. I felt like she wanted to feel like she was kind of looking after me a wee bit till her husband came. I had problems with my heart rate just after the operation, that my heart was very racy. I think this is something that happens to me when I go through a trauma. After I had both my kids and after going through the labour, I really suffered with a fast heart rate, and they did ECGs and found there was no problem. I think it's just my body's reaction. So that's why they ended up deciding to keep me in. They did an ECG and said everything was fine, but my heart was going faster than it should be. So they wanted to monitor me. But to be honest, I was really quite glad to stay in the hospital. It was nice and quiet. It was a really quiet ward. You kind of felt like you were in this nice little cocoon, and there was people looking after you. You felt really safe. And I was quite happy to stay overnight. I remember asking for a sleeping tablet because I knew with my fast heart rate I would struggle to sleep. I'd had that after having had my kids. So they gave me a sleeping tablet, and I listened to my audiobook on my phone and nodded off and slept not bad that night. Stuart came in that night to see me and to visit, and I remember saying, "Oh, do I look awful? I'm all right." He said, "Oh, you look all right, you seem all right, but I think you should stay another night." It was really nice to see him. And that was pretty much it, I think. And I gradually, after I'd had something to eat, started to feel a lot better. I was able to get up and down to the toilet no problem myself. I wasn't really feeling dizzy anymore. I really do think that had a big impact on me, having waited so long and not eaten for so long, as well as having had the operation. So I got out the next day at kind of about lunchtime, I think, which was really just because they wanted to come round and check I was alright. They wanted the doctor coming to see me and said the operation had gone well. And up until that point, I was quite happy with how it had all gone. I was quite happy with how I felt about it. Going home was quite difficult, and I was really surprised. When you kind of come out of hospital, you're walking out to the car, you suddenly realise that your body's taken quite a battering, having been through an operation. And I cried all the way home in the car and felt so sorry for myself. Not because I was in huge amounts of pain, I just felt a bit broken and a bit damaged. A wee bit like I felt after being through labour. You just feel like your body's been through a lot and it's not as strong as it usually would be. And it was almost like the enormity of having just gone through an operation for breast cancer and then facing breast cancer treatment ahead of me hit me in the car on the way home, and I found that part quite upsetting. But after I'd had a good cry, you know, it's like you always feel a bit better after that. First week after the operation, I was sore and I was tender. I would sleep on my back with a pillow under my arm. I actually found the lymph nodes were the area that gave me the most bother. I think that's probably because you move your arm and that there's muscle under there, whereas the breast itself, it's not moving about a lot, it's just tissue, it's not got muscle and things in it. So that was the bit that bothered me the most. I used to sleep with a pillow under my arm and then I could sleep fine. But I wasn't in tremendous amounts of pain, just conscious if I moved too quickly and things, and you kind of feel a bit protective of it all. Scar wise, I'm so squeamish, I didn't want to look at it. So the first time I got my dressing changed, which was after a few days, I think I went up to the hospital and they did that, I didn't look because I just didn't want to see what it looked like. I'd seen the scar under my arm, which is about this long. I've still got a scar. That was fine, didn't bother me too much. And actually eventually when I did see the scar on my chest, it was so much better than I thought it was going to be. They'd done such a neat job. The surgeon cut round the edge of the nipple so the darkness kind of blends in with the nipple colour. It's very hard to even notice it's there. I've got a bit of a dip because they've obviously taken tissue out, but generally the scarring's excellent. I was really lucky that way. I was bruised and swollen for quite a long time. You could see bruising up round here, but that died down after a few weeks. They give you lots of exercises to do afterwards because of the fact they've obviously messed about under here and you've got muscles and things. I was really good at doing my exercises. I made sure I did them a couple of times a day, and I got the movement back in my arm really quickly. For a while when I put my arms up, I couldn't put this one up as high, but within a couple of weeks I found a big difference. And it was funny, you did the stretches and you would think, oh, these aren't working, then all of a sudden you go, oh, I've got all my movement back, which was really good. So I'm trying to think, is there anything else to tell you about my operation? I think that's about it really. So all in all, I would say a lot better than I expected it was going to be. If you're about to go through an operation for breast cancer, try not to feel too nervous because it's not as bad as you think it's going to be. And the painkillers they give you are fantastic. I actually had a big pack of them and I didn't end up using most of them because I didn't need them. You do need to rest up though. I mean, I was resting up for a good couple of weeks afterwards. First week's the hardest, you just feel knackered and you want to sleep all the time. And you just need to do that because your body's recovering. It's fighting hard to build back all that tissue and sew itself all back up. So take it easy. Don't think that you're going to be rushing back to your work and doing everything you used to do. You need to rest and you need to look after yourself because you've just been through a lot. But all in all, much better than I expected. Limited scarring. Surgeons do a fantastic job. So that's the story of me having the lumpectomy. The next one I will do video wise is all about chemotherapy and tell you a bit more about that. So I hope you find this interesting and helpful. I write a blog and I'm on Instagram. My Instagram is Cancerwithasmile. I post every day showing you all about life after cancer, and if you scroll all the way back you can see my story right from the beginning because I started my cancer story on Instagram from the day that let me think, started my chemo, I think was when I started, so I've got all my story there. My blog, I write longer articles about my breast cancer experience, so you can pop over there if you'd like to find out more about that. Please tap a like if you've enjoyed this and put stuff in the comments if you want to ask me any questions. I love answering questions. I love feeling like I can help other people because I know how hard this is. So please pop anything in the questions below and subscribe because I'm putting on videos all the time all about life after cancer and my cancer experiences. While I'm here, I wanted to tell you about my jumper, which is super fitting for the fact I'm doing this. Mina and the Moon are a brand who make funky little jumpers and t-shirts. They are a small brand that are just building up. I love to support small brands because I used to run my own business. And this jumper is being made to support the charity Copperfield. Copperfield are all about encouraging people to check their own breasts so they can find cancer early and it can be treated and you can go on to live a full and happy life after having had cancer. So please pop over to Mina and the Moon and see their gorgeous jumpers. All of the profits or money from these jumpers is going to the Copperfield charity. So it's a fantastic charity and it's so good to see a small business supporting a charity like that. That's all from me. I hope you've enjoyed this. Bye guys.